We are still waiting for new vote totals in D.C.'s primary election. The Democratic primary for mayor is taking shape, but it's still too early to declare a winner. Thanks for joining us. I'm Un Yang.
And I'm Jim Hanley. With Mayor Muriel Bowser not seeking another term, D.C. voters are choosing a new mayor for the first time in 12 years. Preliminary vote tallies show Janice Lewis George holds a sizable lead over fellow frontrunner Kenyon McDuffie in the Democratic primary. Lewis George is ahead by double digits, but there are thousands of mail-in ballots left to be counted, and that 50% mark, that watermark, is very critical. Important when it comes to this ranked choice voting that we've never experienced before here.
Right. News 4's Mark Segraves joins us live to break it all down. You've been covering the election for so long, giving us all the details, Mark. So far, it's only one of the key races that's been called. That's the delegate to Congress. That's pretty definitive. What is happening today with the vote counting, and should we expect any more results anytime soon? You say you have new numbers for us.
It's the longest election of our lives.
I know you feel that way.
So I promised you new numbers, and we got new numbers.
Okay.
But they hardly changed at all.
Yeah.
So it did not move the needle enough so far for Associated Press, for NBC's decision desk, to make a call on any of these races, and that's what we're waiting for, to get enough data in that we can make a call. She still, as you see, has that wide lead, 53 to 36%. That's a sizable lead, and you'll see people out in, social media who are declaring her the winner and whatnot. But, official news organizations that do this for a living haven't gone that far yet. So we're still waiting to be able to call that race. We hope that maybe that'll happen today if they release more numbers and enough numbers. That's the key,
right.
Enough numbers. But we have gotten a little bit of an update, but it really didn't move the needle in any of the races.
So what stands out to you most, Mark, in the results that we've seen up and down the ballot? We have seen a leftward shift.
Absolutely. This is the purple wave. You saw the purple flag on the stage behind Janice Lewis George at her party last night. She had the American flag, the D.C. flag, and a purple flag, right? And so this is kind of that socialist Democrat movement that we're seeing here in Washington, D.C. now. You're seeing more progressives. Alyssa Silverman, take a look at her numbers, if we can put those up. She's way ahead.
Yeah, they were big.
Of her two candidates in that at-large race. 55% to Donnie Crawford, who is technically the incumbent because she was appointed. She's only been in there a couple months, but it's Council Member Crawford. Jock Patterson, well-known, long-time political person in D.C. and community activist. So that's a commanding lead for her right now, but still not enough for us to call that race. And so we're still waiting for those votes to come in. But these margins of victory that we're seeing, Robert White, his margin of victory was enormous, to the point that Brooke Pinto congratulated him on the victory, and other candidates are also conceding to him in that race. So, he very much declaring victory and being called by Associated Press as the winner of that race. And so these margins of victory really signal that the D.C. voter base wants change. It's been 12 years of Muriel Bowser, and now they want some change, and that's what we're seeing play out.
All right, they're asking for change. So if these results hold up, Mark, what will this mean for D.C. and the residents who live here?
It's going to be a lot of new people on the D.C. Council. Look, Robert White is going to most likely be sworn in next year as the non-voting delegate to Congress. That'll trigger a special election for his council seat. If Janice Lewis George holds on to this commanding lead that she has, another special election to fill her Ward 4 seat. If the trend continues that we see this purple wave coming through D.C., it's reasonable to assume that those two seats would be filled with like-minded candidates there as well. And then, we can't forget the Trump effect and whether or not President Trump will follow through on his threats. If Janice Lewis George is confirmed as the winner of that race, he has said that he would take control away from Washington, D.C. and end home rule and reinstitute the control board, something that he's been threatening for years. So there is so much at stake right now for D.C. residents. But what you're definitely going to see are new faces, new blood on the D.C. Council. Alyssa Silverman, hard to call her new blood since she was on the council before. But this is definitely a big change that the new mayor and then Council Chairman Phil Mendelson is going to have to deal with. Look, he's always had this policy of, like, when you're a first-term council member, he doesn't give you a committee. Well, he's not going to be able to do that when he has almost a 50% turnover in the council inside of 1 year. So you're going to see new committee chairmen, you're going to see new faces, new legislation coming up. There's going to be a lot ahead of for us to cover.
But all of that assumes that President Trump doesn't take a hands off, because he could strip them all of power.
So he can't do it unilaterally. He needs Congress. He needs Congress to do that. And a lot of local officials are banking on the midterms that there will be a blue wave there, and that the Democrats will take back either the House and or Senate.
But he doesn't have to wait for that. You pointed out
that's exactly correct. He knows that also. So he could go ahead and move on this, just seeing the writing on the wall, and while he still has Republican House and Senate, move to overturn home rule. And there's an appetite for that on Capitol Hill. He would have no problem doing that. The problem becomes, once they do it, then it becomes their problem. And that's what they found out during the Clinton administration and the control board, that they did not actually want to run Washington,
D.C. And D.C. leaders can't count on Democrats, even if they do win big in the midterms.
You've been paying attention, and I appreciate that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Look, it was the Democrats, a Democratic president, Joe Biden, who signed overturning D.C.'s crime bill a few years ago. Those weren't, it was Republican-led, but there were plenty of Democrats who jumped on board with that.
We had Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, too.
So
there was
Barack
control.
Obama with abortion, 100%. So they can't count on the Democrats to save them out from this. And so, we just have to watch and wait and watch.
Boy, you're in an interesting position. And we are so glad to have you and your perspective. Decades.
I'm going home to go to bed now.
Yeah, you deserve it now.
Yeah.
We'll call the result. We'll wait for you before we call
wake you
anything.
up when the result.
I know you will.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.